Don't forget to check out the Bias Premier League show with Yardi, Ty and myself, where we're going to be discussing the unbelievable comeback by Arsenal with Reiss Nelson. And we're going to talk a little bit about Manchester United.
Hey everyone, welcome back to AFTV. Welcome to an absolute action-packed tactical insight show, just as the game was. Honestly, this might be the most content-rich show we've ever done. I mean, the amount of prep and stuff that we put into this, and it's only right because it was a massive win, it was a massive moment, it had massive moments in it, and I'm going to break it all down with Graham, who was at the game.
Yeah, thank you, James. Yeah, good morning. The game ended on Saturday with an extraordinary moment in an extraordinary game of Arsenal's extraordinary season, settled by a goal by Reiss Nelson, who was subbed on by Mikel Arteta for a sub. Yeah. The goal came in the last 10 seconds of the game. You know me, I've followed Arsenal now for many years. I was at Anfield 89 when Mickey Thomas scored in the last minute. I was at Wembley in 79 when Alan Sunderland scored against Man United in the last minute. I was at Wembley in 93 when Andy Linegan headed in a late winner. I've never seen scenes at the Emirates that I saw on Saturday at any of those games. You know, I was up high looking across the penalty box when Reiss Nelson took the ball down and struck like a bullet shot with his left foot into that far corner. In front of me, I saw people, tears in their eyes, hugging each other, probably people who'd never seen each other before. I looked down onto the pitch, I saw Martin Odegaard, who had taken our 17th corner, drop onto the ground and was punching the air in delight as the ball hit the net. I saw Gabriel fall to the ground. I saw William Saliba came running over across to where I was and kicked the corner flag. I saw absolute chaos. Mikel Arteta didn't know where to run. I saw our backroom staff on the pitch. I saw even cameramen on the pitch. It was an absolute frenetic ending to a game. With a goal in the last 10 seconds, which began with a goal in the first 10 seconds as I was taking my seat. And that is only the first time Arsenal this season have conceded a goal in the first 10 minutes or 10, 15 minutes of a game. And only the third time in Premier League history that we conceded a goal in the first minute of a game. But in the end, Arsenal got over the line, thanks, I think, to Mikel Arteta's substitutions. He took off Tomiyasu at half-time. That wasn't working. Brought on Ben White, who played almost like a right winger. Second half, and went in front of Richarlison in goals this season, became our 14th goal scorer in the season, and also he sort of like brought on Reiss Nelson, and we're going to talk about what a fantastic performance he had on Saturday. You know, I think enormous credit to Mikel Arteta. He is building something very special at Arsenal, and that was reflected on Saturday. The team weren't at it, but they kept fighting. They showed that never die spirit to go over the line. Yeah,
I completely agree. There's no better place to start there with the general stats that we like to cover, and we'll fly through these. I mean, fair play to Bournemouth. The 4 shots they had, all 4 on target. Arsenal managed 9 shots on target from their 30 altogether, 81% possession, which you told me was the
third highest ever possession in the Premier League of any team's ever had, tied third with Manchester City.
Pretty unbelievable that, isn't it? 662 passes.
That's passes completed.
Passes completed. There you go, to Bournemouth's 109. 2.6 XG to their 1.4. So in fairness, they managed to rack up a decent XG with only 4 shots. Let's go to attacking stats. Here it is. 109 final third entries to Bournemouth, 16. 109. Is that the highest we've ever seen on this show?
I think all these numbers are the highest I've ever seen on this show.
Fair enough.
Look at that field tilt.
102. Yeah, I know, that is unbelievable. 92% field tilt to their 8%. 121 deep touches to their 10. 69 zone 14 touches. They didn't have a single one, apparently.
Apparently not.
That's unbelievable. Let's go to our defensive stats. 17 tackles, they're 16. How did we tackle them more than us? Anyway, 1 interception to their 11. 5 clearances to their 61 clearances.
Well, it's obvious when
these numbers are off the scale.
Well, unbelievable, aren't they? But when you're sort of defending as deep as they were and had so little possession, you're going to be obviously having to clear the ball, aren't you? And the reason why our clearances are so low is that we had the ball for possession for 81% and we had the 92% field tilt, or whether it was. So, yeah, and look at those passes per defensive action, James. That is incredibly low. Only allowing every 5 passes we were engaging with them. And we're going to talk today about our elite counter press, I know, which is going to back that up.
We should go on to that immediately. They've got an 11.6 passes per defensive action, and we should talk about the counter press, as you mentioned. Here's a starting 11. We'll actually go through in a second what you made of Vieira and Tomiyasu coming in. But as we were just talking about the pass of the defensive action, I think it's only right we talk about the counter press. And what we've done is you've gone and pre-prepped how we actually set up when we were in this counter-pressing shape. Now, what do you mean by counter-press, and how did Arsenal execute it?
What I mean by counter-press is basically when Bournemouth get the ball, we are counter-pressing to win the ball back and to regain possession. I think what Mikel Arteta has done, he has developed an absolute elite counter-press, and we are elite on the ball and off the ball now. So, and this is why we're able to have these incredible possession numbers and incredible numbers up high. So what I noticed on Saturday was, and this is just looking at the shape of Bournemouth, they played a 5-4-1. They had 3 central defenders and 2 wing backs, but they were literally back in a 5-all game. They played 4 in front with Solanke as the lone striker. Now what I mean by counter press is literally we go man to man all over the pitch, apart from one area, and that is Trossard's role as a false 9. He would look to cover one of those 2 centre halves. And he will make a curve run to whoever's got the ball and try and cover with his cover shadow a pass. Now, before you move
so
that
he's
on,
keeping our Mepham
or
and
Stevens. And then we go man to man all over the pitch. Now, to be able to do this, you've got to have players who understand structure, who are very good at pressing, and this is so well coached. So when the opposition have got the ball, they struggle to get out. They've got to play around this counter press. We go man to man, and we're really good at it. And obviously, it's dependent on everybody doing their job. I get that. But what I think is key to the whole thing is this high line that Mikel Arteta uses in the game. So you have, and he's incredibly reliant on Gabriel and Saliba, who are extremely good at what they do, holding that high line. And then the compactness we've got as a result of that. So what you see is, this is what we are off the ball. We are literally going man to man, counter pressing when they've got the ball. And also there's tightness of spaces, so that if we need to sort of like, if they have got the ball and a player needs to engage, there's always, take this side over here, our right-hand side, their left-hand side, there's always someone about to challenge someone with the ball. So they struggle to get out. They struggle to get out. But what I also like is when we have the ball and we have this system, we have like a shape that is it starts with a 3, with Tomiyasu and White will be back here, but asymmetrically becomes a 2-3-5. And then we've got our midfielders pushing high. So the midfield, the space is created for the midfielders by our lanes up high, and then we've got the ability to go out wide to create overload. So on the ball, we've got an elite structure that is able to sort of like pin teams back, create overloads, and have players like Vieira and Odegaard running into the half space, and we're able to get support up high and create overloads. And out of possession, we're able to press and keep teams pinned in. And it was very dependent. You've got to have defenders who are really good playing a high line. You know, it wouldn't be possible if you didn't have players with recovery speed or elite. We've got, in my opinion, the best centre-back partnership in the league, and Gabriel and Saliba give us that with their high line.
Great centre-back partnership, but we saw the right-back situation change. Tomiyasu came in for White, Vieira came in for Xhaka. What did you make of those? I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing. At the time, here's my honest opinion, and I said in the preview, I wouldn't make any changes, but there's probably no other opportunity for him to do it. So I would understand to agree if he wanted to mix it up. How did you feel?
I understood the rationale because obviously you want to give players minutes and also you want to give players rest.
Confidence, right. Rest to others,
the best of both worlds. You want to, but I must admit, I was happy that Partey come back for Jorginho.
That's true.
Because Partey is our best player in that position, and Jorginho, no criticism of him, he's done really well since he's come into that role. But if Partey's fit, and you saw what he offered in that game, I thought he was absolutely exceptional.
Yeah, he was.
Albeit he was at fault for the second goal, he lost the defender at the corner.
He knew it as well.
Yeah, but he had an exceptional performance, scored a goal, and his numbers were exceptional in the game. I was a little bit worried about Tomiyasu, James, and the reason why is because I just don't think he connects up so well when we're going forward with Odegaard and Saka. You watched it on Saturday. Clearly he didn't have the same understanding that Ben White has in that area. And a couple of times he was making he was under hitting a pass, or Saka would receive a pass not at the right weight. He wasn't understanding position so well. And also he's coming back from an injury. He hasn't played a lot this season. His last performance, obviously he made a mistake. So to ask him to come in and replicate what Ben White does, I think is difficult for him. I just don't think White's been doing it all season and doing it really well, and he is now, you could argue, second choice. I think if there is a role for Tomiyasu in this team, it would be more over on the other side of the defence, where we're not this right-hand side is so crucial to the way Arsenal build up. If we wanted more solidity at the back, and he would go over to left back. If we were to say move Zinchenko forward, I'm not saying we do that. I'm just saying that's probably a better position for him.
I think he's more of a centre back. Honestly,
well, that's what,
he's 6'2".
Yeah.
He's very good on the ball, but like at a good level for a centre back. He's not got that kind of final third quality Ben White produces. He's fantastic in the air. I think he's more of a centre back. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying about that.
And I agree with what you said. He's more a centre back. He's played as a centre back in Italy, and why I think he'd be better in a 3 is that if we're playing against teams who go long a lot. You know, a 3 there to take care of 2. If a team had 2 attackers, he would be good dealing with balls in the air in transition, or he could be good in defence, defending set plays. But he would be, for me, primarily more of a defender, more than somebody who's playing on the right-hand side, trying to create rotations with Odegaard and Saka, which is clearly not his strength.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Bournemouth opener, because as praising as we are of the way Arsenal pressed across the pitch, and the stats say it, we did concede the first goal, and it was in 9 seconds.
9.11 seconds.
9.11, I mean, it's unbelievable. I've got quite a lot I want to say about this, to the point where actually I'm going to show you this goal in 2 different angles. Now, the first thing is, this is a routine from Bournemouth. You mentioned that someone mentioned that they actually scored a goal like this in the Championship. So I think they have been...
They scored a goal last year against Fulham really early in the game from a kick-off. I don't know if they replicated this, but it was something that they created at a kick-off. So they have got a knack of looking to create situations from kick-offs.
Fine, very clever. Now, what I see here is Bournemouth overloading the left-hand side, and so Arsenal's right-hand side trying to address it.
Yeah.
But I've pinpointed out exactly where every player stands here, and it's very strange to me, because the midfield 3 of Vieira, Partey and Odegaard is already disjointed. It's already pulled all the way over. Now, what we see Partey do is drop into the back line. Now, the first time we noticed it, and you broke it down brilliantly, was when we won at Turf Moor 1-0, and Partey kept dropping into the back, into the centre-back partnership to make it back 3. So it's not the first time that Partey's dropped extremely deep. But what it does is it puts us completely on the back foot when they actually end up switching the play to where the space is really open. So the Arsenal players are all the way across here, and we'll just show it at half speed. So Solanke takes it, Rothwell clips it over. Now at this point, Vieira and Odegaard are the 2 central midfielders trying to get across, but Partey's all the way out here. I'm not blaming Partey, there's actually so many people we're going to talk about when it comes to this goal. So it comes out wide to Ouattara. They're running us, they're coming forward. At this point, Partey is trying to sort of resume a holding midfield position, because I think he's kind of realised that I'm so far away from the action of where I need to be. Billing runs off him, and it takes just a little touch off Gabriel that I think just takes it away from Saliba and Partey as well. I actually think it's a little unfortunate for Gabriel, Partey and Saliba. I think there are others that can do better, and that's where I'm going to illustrate that in this second angle, this one here. So again, let's go all the way back to the start of this goal. So they take the kick off, out to Rothwell, and again, out wide to Ouattara. Now again, you see what I like about this angle is you kind of get a little bit of a better idea for the spaces. Vieira's having to come all the way across. Fair play to Martinelli. He actually works really hard to try and get back. But at this point, I want to pause it at the right bit, just a little bit before. There we go. Here. So, 2 other errors for me, maybe 3. I think Zinchenko Martinelli should do better to stop the cross from Ouattara. He takes it with his right foot. I just don't think they should be allowing that. There's 2 of them. You know, Zinchenko can worry about the outside and Martinelli can block the cross, whatever. They can do something. But the other thing I wonder is whether Vieira, and I'm not blaming him, again, it goes wrong in so many ways here, but there's a big gap between Vieira and Gabriel here. Now, I'm not saying that Xhaka not starting is the reason we concede in the first 9 seconds, because purely having a body there is enough. But I think there's too much of a gap between Vieira and Gabriel. That's why Gabriel sort of sticks a foot out to try and do something, and then it's just an unfortunate deflection that takes it beyond Saliba and Gabriel forbidding to put it away. But I think there's too big a gap here. I want to just show it. I think there's too big a gap there between Vieira and Gabriel.
You think, James, that Xhaka would have had better defensive instincts than Vieira in that situation?
I think so. Xhaka, and I'm not just saying this now, I've been saying it all season, he's a proper box-to-box in the way he gets to the front five to help attack, but how often he does drop into the back four to make it a five, like Partey's done at times, to protect as well. I think, and I actually think Vieira did pretty well. I'm not blaming him for this goal, like I said. I think there's lots of areas it goes wrong, but I think he defends that area just a little bit better by dropping into it,
and
I think.
And the other
maybe.
point is, if you just highlight Thomas Partey, if you put a circle around him.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think that Thomas Partey loses billing in that action. And I think Thomas Partey is looking across, expecting the ball to come more central, so he doesn't pick up billing. He switches off because he's looking across at what's happening out there. He allows billing to run off him. They get lucky with the deflection, but you know, they work it well. They make the most of the situation. They're alive to the situation. I think that's a fair argument you make about Vieira. But the reason why I think Vieira was brought in was because this was a game where it was seen that sort of defensive work Arsenal wouldn't be doing so much of, because more than likely we were expecting to be up high. You know, and Vieira's, you know, Xhaka in the last few games has looked a little bit tired. It seemed like an obvious game to rest him. And if you're going to bring Vieira in for any game when you're going to dominate the ball, and we did for 81% of possession, this will be the game to play him in. And we were just caught cold right from the kickoff. I was in the stadium, sat down, and I said to the guy next to me, look at that, they've lined 7 right up and 3 behind. I've never seen that. They overloaded the left-hand side, knowing they're going to go out to the right. Arsenal come across. They had but we had a 4v3 when that ball came into the box to still deal with it. I just don't think we dealt with it well enough.
No,
I've never seen that at this level either.
I will say, and again in defence of Vieira here, when he's jogging back, you see it on the highlights, he's keeping an eye on Rothwell. So, you know, if Uasha, you know, cuts it back and Rothwell's a free shot, then the opposite's being said is you drop way too deep, why'd you do that? So it really is a beauty of hindsight, but that's what football analysis is. It's looking at things after the fact,
they used this twice in the game, James. They used it at the start and caught us cold, and the best part about it was they used it at the end when we went 3-2 up, and the ref blew as they kicked off at 3-2, so they were going to use it again. But yeah, I mean, credit Gary O'Neill and Bournemouth for coming up with something ingenious, but we should have dealt with it better.
And credit to them, I actually thought they played really well. They always offered a counter-attacking threat, and while a lot of the numbers that we mentioned were heavily in Arsenal's favour, I think that was just because of the sheer desperation and need for us to get a goal back from literally 10 seconds into the game. But they were showing something going the other way. They scored from a set piece. Ramsdale's forced into some, but we're going to touch about
Ramsdale made that crucial save at one point, didn't he?
We'll talk about him at the end because I want to end on a real positive as well. Reiss Nelson, though, from the almost first kick of the game to now the last kick of the game, Reiss Nelson, he only played 28 of the about 98, 99 minutes.
Came on after 69 minutes.
There you go. Got a goal, one of the 3 goals, one of the 3 assists, 100% passes completed, 100% of his dribbles completed, and that's not because he was playing it safe. That is really important to know. 23 touches, 15 passes completed, 5 crosses, 2 key passes, and 2 chances created. That takes him to 5 goals and assists for the season. And a correction on my graphic, this is all your numbers by the way, it's actually minutes per goal involvement. He has got 17, the best in the league for anyone over 5.
Well, he's got 5 goals in 85 minutes, which works out a goal involvement over 17 minutes. And I don't know if you're going to put the graphic up about where he sits in the.
No, I did. But I will read.
No, I'll read it because I've got it. I'll read it, mate.
Go for it.
So he's got a goal involvement every 17 minutes. In the 2 appearances he's made, because he came on in the Nottingham Forest game, didn't he, and scored a couple. So Haaland is in second place with 63 minutes per goal involvement. And then you've got people like Foden and Iacho around 100 minutes per goal involvement. So that just shows you incredible numbers on his behalf. And, you know, he was like 4th choice for this game.
I know.
And he came on, and credit to Mikel Arteta, because it wasn't working. Smith Rowe, who he subbed on after 22 minutes when Trossard felt something and had to come off, and Martinelli moved more central. It wasn't working with Smith Rowe out wide left, so he took him off. Nelson came on and had an immediate impact on the game, not just in the way he was playing, but he delivered the cross for Ben White to score his first Arsenal goal. And he immediately stretched the pitch. What I noticed, Zinchenko in that second half was saying to Smith Rowe, get out wider, get out wider. Smith Rowe was coming more narrow. We needed the width on that side, which Smith Rowe wasn't providing. The moment Nelson came on, the pitch was more stretched, and he asked them a question, because they had 5 across the back. We needed to stretch the pitch more. He did that, and he was really key, I think, to the turnaround.
Yeah, he was. And I think I said this in full time, I said this on Forever Arsenal, that's out already, go check it out. I said that I thought a lot of players were struggling when it came to their decision making and then their execution. Martin Odegaard, for example, who was busy as ever, tried everything he could. I felt he stood out as someone who was passing when I felt he should have shot, and he was shooting when I felt he should have been passing. And then when he did shoot, you know, the one time I felt he really cleanly hit it, it was blocked. That was going.
He had a few shots blocked, actually.
He did. He had loads of strikes. And fair play. He was trying to make things happen. I'm not taking away from it. But Nelson came on, and you see that with his 100% passes completed. Yet he didn't play it safe. He just knew when it was time to pass. He knew when he could take on his man, and you could see that in the fact that he completed 100% of his dribbles. His crossing was excellent, found Odegaard for one, found White for the equaliser, and then the strike. I mean, he's a right-footed player, but his key moments came with his left foot, with the assist and the goal. What an unbelievable strike to win it. And the composure, because he takes a touch with his chest, and then falls to his right foot. And if you've ever played...
shifts his body to take it on.
This is not an easy skill.
No.
Like, to be able to take a touch and then bring it down and then put it onto your left foot and then hit it. You've got a little bit of time to do that. But what he does is in one almost motion is take the touch, and then as it comes down, he has to flick it onto his left before he swings it. I've kicked the screen. Flick it with his right before he hits it with his left. It's an unbelievable bit of skill. I think it could be goal of the season in the Premier League.
It could be our most important goal of the season.
Oh, I mean, it could easily be.
I don't care if it's a Premier League goal of the season. It's Arsenal's most important goal.
I don't know if there's a goal in the season that has shown as much skill as that. And I'm sure there will be out there, but that is unbelievable. Let's talk about the amount of goal scorers we've got though, because with that Ben White one that we mentioned, you sent me these numbers and they're really impressive as well.
Yeah, we've now got 14 different scorers. Ben White became the 14th different Arsenal scorer in the Premier League this season, the most of any team in the Premier League, so this is really impressive, isn't it? So everybody is chipping in with goals. And you would not have thought if Arsenal had scored 3 goals on Saturday that the 3 goal scorers would be Partey, White and Nelson, would you? I mean, the odds on that would have been unbelievable, wouldn't they? But this just shows you everybody in the team, 14 different goal scorers now, most in the league. It's really impressive, isn't it? And I think the thing is, on Saturday, you are right that they weren't at it. Wrong decision making up high. But the one thing about this Arsenal team, they're so well structured, they stay in their shape, they keep believing. There's tremendous belief in the system they play. And even when they're not playing as well as they can, they keep fighting. The spirit in this team is unbelievable, and it was shown again on Saturday.
Well, and nothing actually shows that more than Arsenal's record when they've been conceding first this season compared to last season.
Yeah, and this just really summed it up for me when I saw this. Look at the last season. So when we conceded first last season, in 11 games, we only won 1 of those games, and we lost 10. And this stat here actually is when we concede 2 goals in a game, James. Sorry, no, it's not, is it? Sorry, this is the first stat. I'll correct myself on that. So 21-22, I'm going to head of myself. 11 games, won 1, lost 10. But look at the record this season. 8 games so far. When we've conceded first, we've come back and won 5. We've only lost 3. A massive turnaround. And that shows the belief, not only in the team, the belief in the stadium was still there on Saturday when we went behind. And they keep fighting. And when they go behind, they still believe.
It's a couple times since the World Cup. I mean, West Ham at home, we went behind. Man United at home, we went behind. Villa away. Fulham before the World Cup, you're right. So really, really impressive from Arsenal.
And we've come back and won games late in games.
Yeah.
And this is what top elite teams do. You know, and teams who are fighting for the championship, for the title do. Even they keep going to the end and they never give up. They go to the 90th minute, the 96th minute, whatever it is. You just keep going to the end, and this is what this team does.
Yeah, completely and utterly agree. However, I'm going to be a little bit negative about something now. It's not negative, actually. It's just interesting, and I think it's worth addressing. Yeah. I'd be amazed if Arteta isn't thinking we need to perhaps do something about the amount of chances and goals we concede away from home. Now, I've been trying to understand why, away from home, we just feel a safer team. I know at Villa it was 4-2 and it was basketball, but that was trying to get out of a blip. Leicester, though, brilliant away from home. I'm trying to think of the games before that. Everton, Everton, I know we conceded quite a few chances, but it was only 1-0. Like, it feels that at home we're just more open, more expansive, all the way from that very first game of the season at home to Leicester.
When you think about it, away from home, the wins at Palace, Brentford, before the World Cup,
Wolves, clean sheet, Leicester,
Tottenham,
Leicester, Chelsea, clean sheet, Tottenham,
it's things that we're more concentrated when we're away from home. We defend better away from home. At home, we seem, I think, to lose concentration, and also maybe you could argue, are we, sort of like pushing too much at home that we get caught on the sucker punch? But yeah, the home stats, if you look at those possession numbers, does reveal sort of like, home. We are sort of like.
We're more open.
We're more open, aren't we?
Yeah, we're more vulnerable at home. I actually even forgot.
What's your theory? Why do you think this is?
Well, let me go through these numbers. And actually, there's a number I've forgotten to add to this graphic. Apologies, as I said, there's so much. I forgot some stuff. But our average possession at home, 64%, which is more than our average away, which is 57%. Fine. Now, here's a stat that I forgot to add, that our average goals conceded at home is 1.3 per game. Our average goals conceded away is 0.69. So we're conceding, on average, over a goal a game at home, and we're conceding less than a goal a game away from home. You see that in the amount of clean sheets. I think 8 of our 10 or something are away from home compared to at home, where it's only like 2 of them. But our expected goals, so not goals, expected goals per game at home is 2.38. Our expected goals per game away is 1.73. You'd expect that. We're shooting more at goal, we're having more shots, we're dominating games. But again, and these are numbers via Understat, I did the number crunching myself. People will analyse XG differently, but again, the message is always the same. Our expected goals against per game at home is 1.09, and our expected goals against per game away from home is 0.94. Now, for context, Man City, the league champions last season, at home, their expected goals against was 0.66. So what all these numbers telling us, and me, and you asked me what my conclusion is to all this, I think that Arsenal away from home have a very controlled, professional, focused demeanour about them. They are totally respectful of what can happen with the opposition, and they play in that way. They're happy to drop into a deep block if they have to. They're happy to just bide their time in moments. It was 0-0 in the first half against Wolves. It was 0-0 in the first half against Chelsea. It was 0-0 in the first half against Leicester. We didn't blow these teams away. We were actually very happy to let them have. It was only 1-0 at home to Palace. In fairness, we were 2-0 up against Brentford. But you get my point. We were kind of happy to respect the opposition. At home, I think, that might look like it's only 7% more from 57 to 64. But that's a 14% swing. The opposition have 7% more as well. So I think Arsenal go more punch for punch at home and perhaps lack a little bit more focus. And some of the goals we've conceded all the way back from that Leicester game at home, where it was just frustrating, like it's a Saliba header and Ramsdale slightly too far, but it's kind of no one's fault, it's just what it is. James Maddison scoring at the near post, Marcus Rashford with that goal from distance because Partey is chopped a bit too easily in that goal. I just think there's far too many moments. So we saw it with Everton. I know it was a 4-0 win, but they had a lot of chances in that first half where we were caught a little bit in transition. And I think Arsenal are just, I get it, they can go punch for punch and win games, and hell, they've done it. They have gone and won a lot of games going punch for punch. But when you don't, I think you could just get caught on your errors, like against Man City, and when it opens up a bit, and concede more at home. And I think, while I don't want Arsenal to be more reserved, because we can score goals, I think just a little bit more concentration, I feel, and we'll get through those tougher periods a bit more easily.
Yeah, I think concentration is the word. I think we've been a bit sloppy at home, too relaxed maybe at home, and we're more concentrated away. Man City's home record shows you, if you want to win this league, that's what you've got to, that's the benchmark, isn't it? And that's what we've got to try and achieve. Having said that, it's been a hell of a ride this season at home. Some unbelievable games and some unbelievable performances and so many late goals. But so in one sense, I do want Arsenal to be more solid at home, but hell, we're loving the ride at the Emirates at the moment, James. That's one thing I will say. And I will just give a shout out to Aaron Ramsdale, because I don't think we can not do that in this show, because as much as we praise Reece Nelson, I thought Ben White was massive when he came on down that right hand side. If you looked at his heat map, he almost played like a right winger second half, and he had the instinct to get into the box, and what a composed finish that was. So I think, Ben White, really good performance, but I thought Aaron Ramsdale, this season he's gone very much under the radar for me.
I agree.
He has been very, very consistent, and he made 2 big saves in that game. Only had 4 saves to make, 2 he couldn't do nothing about. But the save at 1-0, when we switched off and they got an overload on the right-hand side, he was out of his goal so quick to make a vital save. They could have been 2 up in very quick time. I thought this season he's been, back to his best, and I think he deserves enormous credit. So I just think that's worth saying, because I just think that save was big in the context of the game on Saturday. Albeit we did go 2 down, but to go 2 down early would have sucked the life out of the stadium.
You know what? I'm gonna pile on even more the Ramsdale praise, because massive save against Aston Villa at 2-2 when he tips
Tottenham
it onto
away.
the
I remember
crossbar.
brilliant stuff.
Tottenham got us through that, even though we absolutely deserved to win that game. Some big saves that just killed their momentum as they came out in the second half. Everton the other night, he had to step up when we weren't really at our best, just marshal the Everton attack away, make some saves he should be making, but ensuring that he's just doing his job as Arsenal try and chase a goal. And you're right, in this game, a couple world-class saves just to deny Bournemouth and keep us in it. And I'm so happy for Aaron Ramsdale.
I think he had a great performance. And one other player I just want to shout out for, who's integral now. As much as we say we can't afford to lose Partey, he's the key in the spine of this team. I thought Zinchenko's performance on Saturday was absolutely immense. Down that left-hand side, the combinations also with Nelson when he came on. But he seems to know, he played like a midfielder. He's a left back, this guy. His numbers reflected the numbers of a midfielder on Saturday. He was up high, combining with our wide players, moving into space. He was shifting position a lot. He understands the game so well. And he's the brain on this player, and also the ability he's got, the passing, the decisions he makes when he makes a pass. I was watching him really closely on second half on Saturday. He was absolutely unbelievable driving that team forward. And when we scored that goal, what I loved was he came over into the corner just below me and he celebrated that goal like a fan, as he always does. And I think he's added so much to this team, James.
Couldn't agree more. The roundup stats.
The roundup stats, we're there already.
We're there already, I know. After all this talking, there's still more to unveil. How about that? But yeah.
OK, James, the closing stats for this week then. Arsenal are just the 2nd team in Premier League history to concede in the first minute of a game and go on and win the game with a goal in the last minute of a game. Do you know who the other team was?
Man United.
No, Arsenal.
Was it Arsenal as well?
Arsenal in August 2007. Don't ask me who it was against, I haven't got that stat. Arsenal have won for the first time after trailing by 2 goals in the Premier League since they beat 5-2 at the Emirates in February 2012.
Tottenham?
Yeah. How could we forget that? 5-2.
I don't know these beforehand, by the way. I'll find out on the spot.
Arsenal have now won 9 and lost only 1 of the last 12 games v Bournemouth in the Premier League. Arsenal have are now 13 points up after the equivalent number of games from last season.
13?
Yeah.
I honestly thought it'd be more. But that is very impressive.
Arsenal have now recovered more points from losing positions. You're going to check that one, aren't you? Arsenal
I'm going to see where it would put us. So minus 13 would put us on 50. So we'd be 3rd.
Yeah.
How about that? That tells you something about the state of the top 4 race. Carry on.
Arsenal have now recovered more points from losing positions than any other team in the Premier League. Benjamin White became the 140th player to score for Arsenal in the Premier League. Bukayo Saka has now completed the most successful dribbles in the Premier League with 42 this season. And finally, I'm talking about how much love I had for Zinchenko on Saturday. He's now made 59 successful passes into the final third in our comeback win, a record in a Premier League match this season, James.
Wow, there you go. From left back. All right, we're going to leave it there. Graham, you've been fantastic as always. Guys, if you enjoyed the show, it's amazing reading all your comments. Hopefully we're able to reply to as many as possible and chat to you guys as well about your thoughts on tactics, on the show, on everything. If you did enjoy it, do hit the like button. It helps us a lot. And do hit the subscribe button so you'll get everything on AFTV notifications when we've uploaded. It's an absolute pleasure covering Arsenal, from the previews to the reviews and everything in between as well. We hope you've enjoyed this one. And yeah, go check out everything else that's out on the channel, from Forever Arsenal to Bias to everything. Graham, a big thank you as always.
Mate.
We'll see you very soon. Who have we got next? Fulham.
Fulham away next Sunday.
Sporting then, Fulham.
12 to go, James. 12 to go. Are you getting excited?
I'm getting nervous. See you next Monday.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.